Good morning, welcome to the November 19th Weston County Commissioners meeting. Welcome to all of you. And Walter, would you do the prayer this morning?
Yes, I can. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you today. We place this commissioner meeting in your hands, and we are asking that you will be with us, that you will guide all of us, and that you will give us understanding, that you will give us wisdom, and that you will help the commissioners to make the right decisions, help the public to make the right decisions as well. Father, we just now ask you to take control and have your way in the business of this county. And we give you all the praise and the glory. We thank you, Lord God, Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good morning. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
I need to add treasurer's report to the consent agenda. And then Michael asked to move Walt site update from old business.
Yes, or remove it?
Remove?
Because he won't be here.
Oh,
Okay.
can we go on the next one?
Yeah.
Updates. Any other additions or changes to the agenda besides having the treasury report to the consent agenda?
Move to approve agenda as amended.
I have a motion. Do I have a second to approve the agenda?
Second.
I have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Moving on to the consent agenda. Sorry, we're again having trouble with this internet. Best I can to get it back up. Need a motion for the agenda, consent agenda,
Move to approve consent agenda as amended.
with the additions of the treasurer's report. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a proper second to approve the consent agenda with the addition. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
How is it I can join any Teams meeting in the world and never get dropped out?
We have one bar on the internet, and I don't know,
So do we need to get Starlink on the roof?
I'm guessing that's been the holdup that we've had.
This thing has a built-in computer and it's wireless and it's not strong.
You can see right here, we barely have a bar.
They said the best thing would be to wire it in,
You see that a lot. Up here, you guys are.
but it would
You do.
have to go through range to do it. Another range.
That's so weird.
We have problems
I know
too,
that
but
you boost
I've
it,
never
I think
noticed.
it's-
Not very often, but I can't log into just across the grass. That's why I'm here. I can't even just log in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wish I knew what to do about it.
You can mount
At the computer.
Yeah.
the Starlink satellite right out here, or dish.
It would solve a lot of problems.
Costs $100 a month. That launch, yeah.
Everyone else with Courthouse doesn't have a problem.
Yeah.
And it's this.
While you're going through the consent agenda, what's the executive session about?
I wonder if we,
Just the number.
TV and just. Instead of this built-in computer. So,
Personnel.
that we
Oh.
can't.
It's
Aye, aye.
It's fairground business.
Aye, aye.
Employee,
Yeah, okay. Aye, aye.
16-4-45A. Aye.
I knew the rest.
I think it's quite the same.
yeah, just, yeah.
Violating the Constitution. Period. That's it.
Moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? All right, moving on to 4-H update. Karen, is she here? Morning, Aaron.
Good morning, how are you guys?
Good. Just state your name for-
Well, sorry, Nathan.
Thank you, Aaron.
What? Yep. Yes, but I can bring it tonight to update.
Okay, that'll work.
I'll see.
I'll see you there.
Yes, perfect. All right, I am Erin Hershey with the 4-H and Extension Office, so it's been a little while since I've been here, just with all the craziness of fall. So the 2025 4-H year started on October 1st. We currently have 151 members enrolled, so that breaks out to 121 like full-fledged 8 to 18-year-old 4-H members. 20 of them are brand new to 4-H this year, which is really exciting, and we have 30 Clover Buds, and 16 of those 30 are brand new as well. And so we have about 70 members from last year to re-enroll. Some of them have gone on to college, so they still have a year of eligibility left, but I'm not sure they'll take it. So working on continuing to get everybody enrolled for the new year, but I'm really excited to look that right now we've got 36 brand new to 4-H kids, which is really exciting. So in the end of September, they did their 4-H stories. And so record books used to be required somewhere along Weston County. They stopped requiring them. So I've had very, very few turned in the last couple of years. So we kind of switched gears a little and went with, we just called it Your 4-H Story, and I asked the kids to write about their 4-H year, and I got everything from 3 handwritten sentences from one of the little Clover Buds to 3.5 typed pages from another member. And they're really, really fun to read. I put on a couple quotes here today, and one of them just says, 4-H was an awesome experience. I recommend all kids to join and all parents to help out with it. 4-H is very memorable and a fun thing to do with your time. And that was Maisie Owens, and there's 46 of them that are all like that. They're just really fun to read. And I asked them to submit a couple pictures with them. So my goal is we're going to turn them into some fun Facebook posts and feature the kids that turned in their stories. Hopefully turn them into a couple pieces that go in the paper and just kind of use them as recruitment, but also to highlight the kids and the great things that are happening here in Weston County. So we have some really fun upcoming events. So Clover Buds will meet for our second time of this new year tonight in Upton and Thursday night here in Newcastle. And then Thursday evening, we are doing our new to 4-H dinner. So we're calling it Passport to 4-H Adventures this year. So the kids are going to get like a little passport book about all the different 4-H activities, and they'll have to go around and talk to the different stations, and hopefully they'll leave really excited about being involved in 4-H. And so all the first and second year 4-H members are invited to that. On Friday, we're doing a combination of food fun and 4-H and making cookies for the bank's open house in December. So we'll do some fun cooking, and then in December we'll do food fun and 4-H, and then the holiday maker day. So we're going to do a really fun, get them together, work on some things that could be projects and some stuff that could be gifts. And then December is pretty much report season the rest of the month, getting ready for all of our year-end reports that are due in January. So kind of excited. I had a really great year. So the Wyoming Association of 4-H Educators, we have some awards that we can put in for. And so I put in awards, and I won for the periodical publication.
But I think it was malice on Becky's part leading up to the mistake, malice on Becky's part during the mistake, and certainly malice on Becky's part after the mistake that has the public so upset about this.
Oh, 100%. I can't fathom why you would ignore the Secretary of State's phone call on election night unless you knew something was up and you didn't want to admit something was up, and therefore you were trying to cover up what was up. Why else would you ignore his call? If you honestly thought there was no issue with your election and everything was fine, why would you ignore the Secretary of State?
Except for maliciousness.
Yes, the following day, after she talked to the Secretary of State twice, she somehow produced a perfect post-election audit, despite later finding out that the election was off significantly.
And so I put in awards and I won for the periodical publication, which was my newsletter every month, my social media package that we do, the This Week in Weston County 4-H that I send out every week, won the promotional piece, which was my postcard that I sent out to everybody about getting enrolled in 4-H a year ago, our educational package that was Food Fun in 4-H, our team effort won, and then at our banquet in Sheridan a week and a half ago, I was awarded the Rookie Educator of the Year from the Wyoming Association. So that was really exciting. And then those awards from the Wyoming Association go on to the Western region, and the Western region consists of 13 states, the 4 Western Canadian provinces, and the 4 U.S. territories that have 4-H programs. And my newsletter, the social media package, and my promotional piece won regional awards. And then my promotional piece won a national award at the national meeting in Boise. So that was really exciting when you look at everything that's submitted across all of NAE 4-H. So that was really exciting and fun. So I got recognized at the Western Region Brunch in Boise and then the National Awards Dinner in Boise. So that was really cool. And then the last few months since I've been here, we had our Clover Bud celebration. So if that was a new event we did this year, we brought all of the Upton Newcastle Clover Buds together and did a really fun end of the year celebration to kind of finish out that, celebrate the ones that were jumping up into their junior year 4-H level, and just had a really good time. So we've had lots of meetings. We had the Extension Administrative Team meeting in Gillette. So the whole Extension team is now meeting quarterly throughout the state. So the first one was in Gillette, so that was fun to get to go over and participate and have, I think there were 25 of the educators from kind of the northeast and kind of north central part of the state there to be a part of that. I helped plan the Wyoming 4-H Volunteer Summit that happened in Casper the end of September. We helped at the Upton FFA Ag Bash where we got to do 4-H and we took the Shooting Sports Gallery trailer over and we had 120 kindergarten through 5th grade kids come through and got to expose them to 4-H that way. Newcastle Saddle and Sirloin had their Ag Day for the 55 4th graders here in town. And then we had National 4-H Week and 114 members enrolled that week. So that's pretty awesome because my first year I think we had like 36 take advantage of that first week of enrollment. So it's fun to get them gathered up and excited about 4-H kicking off that new year. And this year we sent 4-H flyers home with every kindergarten through 5th grade student in Newcastle and every kindergarten through 8th grader in Upton, and sent it out to the homeschool co-op. So I'm hoping as more and more of them kind of look at it and are exposed to some of the fun 4-H events. I know that's definitely where some of those new 36 kids came from, so that's been really exciting. We had the Weston County 4-H Jubilee, and so that was kind of our end of the year celebration, kick off the new year. Definitely not as big as I was hoping for, but I managed to pick the night that every sporting event had something going on in Newcastle, which makes it hard to get people there. And then went to Boise for the National 4-H Conference, and while we were there, our Food Fun and 4-H project was selected to present during one of the poster sessions, so we got to talk about that as well. So that's been really fun. And then we just wrapped up kind of meeting season with Engage, which is the Wyoming Extension meeting. So we were in Sheridan for 3 days doing all of lots of meetings and work groups and that kind of stuff. So that's been kind of where we're at and kicking off the new 4-H year with a bang. So does anybody have questions about what's going on in the 4-H world? I'd love for you guys to come Thursday night if you want to come have dinner with us for the Passport to 4-H. We're going to serve dinner and
Congratulations on the accolades.
thank you.
Well deserved.
It's been-
What time?
Thank you.
What time is the dinner on Thursday?
We're going to start at 5:30. So we're hoping
And the cookie extravaganza?
at 2. And we're going to cook at the fairgrounds because I'm hoping we have enough kids that my office is not big enough.
Any other questions for Aaron? Really appreciate the update, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in December.
All right.
Okay. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
Yes. Moving on to sheriff's update. Right, or Dan, sorry. Morning.
All right, how are you?
Welcome.
Thanks. Maybe. We'll see.
Well, if you want to say your name today, not everybody knows for sure, but for the,
Oh, Dan Fields of Weston County Sheriff's Office. Gilbert Nelson of Emergency Management. All right, well, we're back to talk about all those numbers that I spit at you last time.
Okay.
Where would we like to start?
I guess it doesn't matter as long as we get to where we're going. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll start with the opioid fund, canine vehicle.
Okay.
Sorry, like to purchase a new replacement for our current Tahoe that's having issues. The cost of that would be, for a Ford F-150, would be $83,374.24. That would come out of that opioid fund portion of it, and I believe there's 130,000 roughly around there. Our Tahoe's having issues with that portion of it, and then so we're looking at a more reliable police vehicle that seems that other agencies have.
Is that 83,000, that's turnkey?
That is the truck and the build outfit, the build for it. So yes,
And that's, we don't, turnkey, we don't have to put more money in when it shows up?
no,
Okay.
that would be
Comes with the cage, the lights.
comes with everything. Yep,
Okay.
that's the upfitted vehicle. The vehicle's roughly about $55,000. The rest of it's the canine portion. Any other
No questions on that? Now, we
Okay.
transferred a vehicle, right? Make sure I'm.
The
back on
gold, the old Tahoe, the gold one transferred to Upton
Okay.
Fire Department.
track.
And they are very grateful for that, thank you.
We do have a silver or 15 Tahoe that if we are able to, that's the spare Tahoe to go into because they keep breaking down. If we can get that, this F-150, we'd like to see about transferring that silver or 15 Tahoe to the Weston County Fire District. They were damn close.
That would be after we get this vehicle.
After we get this vehicle.
That's something like that. You guys can address at the time. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner isn't the assessor's office also looking for a decent vehicle because they travel over quite a bit, so that might be another option. I'm not saying that that's what, I'm just saying I think that they had requested a vehicle as well.
Do you think that this is the one that we've been having some issues with? Maybe it was, it had something to do with idle time and the way that engine's designed, is that kind of something?
The 15,
Well, actually, all of them.
yeah,
Right.
that 15 had a new engine and transmission put in it.
Okay.
And then we still have a newer one after that.
We have a 21, that's,
We have a 15
that is
and a 21.
breaking out the same issues that the 15 had, so the valves and everything. Turned it out.
So you end up keeping the 21 for a backup.
Yeah, because we do need a spare for to put that dog in when we go down. Because they inevitably go.
Yeah, I think once you get that, then I bring it back to the commission, find out where that needs to go. For
Future, Dan, is on those, they got a variable timing and they drop cylinders at idle times. And if we got extreme amount of idle, it probably is going to eat those cans up. Just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I think they were supposed to taking that out.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to move forward with the F-150?
I would,
Make the motion that we move forward with the amount of $83,374 for the new F-150 with clean engines.
I have a motion.
Out the opioid funds.
Second.
I have a motion properly seconded to approve the amount of $83,374.24 for the F-150 out of the opioid fund. Do you have any discussion?
Time to delivery date.
generally anywhere from usually a year it takes.
They'll be pushing it over into next year's budget and that.
Oh,
Okay.
generally six months to a year. I mean, we're still waiting on that.
More money even dumped into that opioid fund, I know.
But we do, it takes a long time to get the vehicle done, all their equipment. We're still waiting on our last vehicle built to get built.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on.
Okay, the next portion would like also on that opioid fund is set aside for our blue gold training. On the high side, it would be $20,000 for all the law enforcement officers within the county to go to 3 days worth of training, 2 separate sets. We open that up to other agencies and they can pay that. On the low side, it would be $12,000. On the high side, it would be $20,000 to bring the trainers in to train us on for advanced search and seizures, report writing, and immediate intervening courses. So it can vary between the 12. If we get it full and all people sign up outside of the agency and pay for it, it would be cost us $12,000. If they don't, we continue to pay. It would be $20,000 for 13 officers.
And when you say high side, you figuring full staff in Upton, City of Newcastle? And
Currently, what we have right now, there is some. I don't know where Upton's going to be.
Yeah,
I don't know where the city's going to be by the time the training comes in. It's for 14 seats. So they may have to pay some out of their own training budget, but less if we.
when is the training?
I need to make sure that we are going to go forward with that so that I can get it set up for within. It will be next year, for the 2025 year. It takes at least a minimum of 3 months to start to book it, 3 months out, so they can set their schedules throughout the state for every.
If we don't fill it with Weston County law enforcement, will it be open to other
It
agencies?
is open for other agencies. It would guarantee us to have the seats. It would guarantee 14 seats in that training. So for the current staffing levels that we have, I mean, if we want to, I mean, it roughly about $1,500 per officer to increase it. So if we wanted to add 5 seats, we'd have to add that amount. The problem is that you don't have it.
Is it a prepaid or reservable seat?
Yeah, when people sign up for it,
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
the problem is that you don't have it.
Is it a prepaid or reservable seat?
Yeah, when people sign up for it, they pay the Blue Gold training agency. So we do know how many people are going to attend. They just have to have a certain guarantee that they're going to get a return on it to send the trainer.
Has the current officers here committed to going, or?
Out of our office, yes.
But you don't know.
Mandatory. I talked to Chief Thompson, and he puts his officers.
Yeah, I just hate to spend the money and then somebody back out of it.
I would too, and I would confirm that we would definitely. I think if we had this come in, he would send it because it would save all the travel and training time. Because otherwise, we're sending people to Casper, Cheyenne, anywhere else that has it. So, when I talked to him, he said he would do it.
Just out of curiosity, could you go get that verbal commitment from, we could do a motion?
Yeah.
If we know an exact number and
Yeah.
I mean, you think you need the motion today to do something like that?
I do, so if we are guaranteed to move forward with it, then they can set their training, then I can get the confirmed dates.
Is there a way to, if we're providing the training, that we mandate the officers to go to that instead of I guess I'll be there, or to make sure we don't lose, that we're paying and we're getting what we're paying for instead of, costing us and people don't show.
Yes,
Is there a way to do that?
We can make it mandatory.
Okay. That would make them feel better.
Or worst case scenario, if some Crook County has somebody, if they'd be willing to take the spot.
Well, and that was the thing is we open it up to other agencies too. Yeah. So the surrounding areas and throughout the state it gets open. And that's where it could cost us not that full amount, just $12,000. So if we have open seats and somebody backs out and somebody fills in, they do sign up for that.
And they would pay for their.
They would pay for their own. This is just for.
So it could be up to 20,000
and
it could be less, but we'll make it mandatory for
minimum
our
would
person.
be 12,000, I guess. On the high side would be 20 if nobody in other agencies would show up, which does not happen on top of throughout the state.
What's the will of the board?
You want to use those opioid funds for that too? Is that
Yes,
your thought process?
Yeah, because it is a train, it does fall within that.
So at 20,000, you're asking for that slot?
14
slots, okay. Make a motion to authorize up to 14 slots for the officer training to take place to be paid for out of the opioid fund.
I have a motion, do I have?
Second that with the caveat that it's a maximum of $20,000 in that motion. Is that good with the motion maker?
Yep.
I have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
The next one, that's the most painful. The camera system. We're talking about needing to update, the detention center, add cameras to the annex building and the impound. It went up from the last time I talked to you. Just because the installation is, installation, they're talking about $100,000 for installation. And that's for the Verkada system. Motorola, they generally say your installation costs as much as your equipment. So whatever your equipment costs, they generally say that would be about the cost of your installation. So Verkada, they were at $108,365 and then 82 cents, and then another 100,000. They think they can get that down a little bit, not much. So that would be like 203,000.
What's the life expectancy of this equipment before it has to be upgraded again? And will they provide maintenance on that equipment with the costs and
There's a
warranties?
There's a 10-year warranty on that. Yes, 10-year, it's a 10-year plan, 24-hour service, or if we have any issues, have help. It's a much better system than even what Courthouse has right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, commissioners, we're talking about taking that out of the ARPA or the travel fund? Or is that-
Pretty well got it.
What that?
It pretty well got it. But I don't know where we get the money.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's what we were thinking about, right? And I don't know that we have that.
Yeah.
Will you be able to tell us what we have?
I mean, we do, but we've got some other issues, major. I understand that this is a major issue, but there's other issues too.
Can it be upgraded in stages where we, take care of the jail and at lesser cost, and then maybe, and I'm not speaking for the other commissioners, but then, next year or the following years, we upgrade to the next level. And so is that a possibility, or does it have to be done at once?
It doesn't have to be, I don't think it needs to be done at once. You could do stages and I guess you could do the jail, and then you could do the other building.
Based on the priority.
Yeah, I think if you did the sheriff's department, that building, and that maybe that out the annex and the.
And what would do we know what the cost would be just to do the sheriff?
I think that was 80, without installation was 84,000, it'd be 184, I think.
160 basically.
Yeah, minus the 24,000 that I have.
So whatever the amount is, you can, for any stage, it's gonna be double that because of the installation.
The installation is what is.
Wow.
Because, the sheriff's building, from my understanding, it has a little bit more, cost involved in it for the installation because of the wiring runs that they have to do and the rewiring because of the status of the current system. Issues in the attic, I don't know if anybody else has been up in the attic.
Yeah.
It's.
So,
hazard alone.
right now,
All the old
in
wiring
the
is still there.
Yes.
ARPA, there's 160,578. And we still have in the tribal funds, we have 331,681.
Is that taking out what we said?
That is with everything taken out up as of right now.
But we
So
haven't paid
anything
yet.
that you guys have designated,
Okay, you got it out.
anything you guys have designated, like the bills that'll be coming in once they're done, like the
Rough.
the stuff at the library, the windows and stuff has not been taken out.
That's what I was thinking.
These are bills as of today that have been paid. And the, Powder River one that you guys just authorized, it's not, that bill has not came in.
One other question on the phase work. If you do something besides the sheriff, say you did the annex, and that's not upgraded to sheriff, is that gonna cause a problem? Because they're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not it's not upgraded or linked here. I mean, does it have to be done in a certain order to make the system all work together? Or can you not do one portion before you do the other? Does that make sense?
You can do a portion and you can add into it, so you can expand off of it into a phase portion. They can add it in there.
I think due to the importance of the issue, I think the job is the highest importance out of anything.
You don't,
Go ahead.
you don't think there's anything else in the jail that we could back off a little on? Potentially, like get the cameras working? I mean, are they, is there something in the jail that we could cut a little for now that would?
On their,
Yeah, I know you're getting the jail package, I guess, but is there any that are more, I mean, I understand certain ones might be need to be more important to be able to see certain areas.
I mean, other than maybe going down in quality of camera in a couple of areas, that might be able to save a little bit of money.
What kind of money are you, I mean, it's not gonna be significant.
Probably not a huge amount, but out of the importance of everything, that would be the building to start, just because of the, I mean, yeah.
It's the will of the board.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, like, you guys are in, like, that's, but it's gonna gut the, I mean, how long will it take them to get it in? I mean, any idea?
They assured that they work fast under deadline, that's all they said. But I don't know what that means to them, or what that means to us.
Would some of the opioid money be able to use for the security cameras, or that does not qualify?
I do not believe that qualifies.
Just wondering, just said there was gonna be more in there by the time.
Yeah. I mean, it could, maybe, I mean, could you?
I don't think it will.
You don't think
That's
so?
okay.
It has to be used for stuff like the canine dog drugs and stuff like that. There's a lot of stipulations on it.
Okay, so like you're saying, I mean, we were watching over.
I hate to jeopardize that.
I understand, I just was curious.
Pushing it.
Yeah. It's a tough one, and we understand that. It just is, there's certain issues that are highly important with this system.
So we're risking either their safety or potential lawsuits versus $160,000, right? So I guess if that's what it boils down to, we probably better spend it, in my opinion. When we use the tribal funds, and that money's gone.
I would agree with you.
Well, I get to put that in motion, see where it goes. Can you give me the amount again?
The amount?
So leaving out the annex and
Yeah,
That's the sheriff.
so I think that was,
168,000.
yeah, taking out by 24,000 is gonna be,
about 170.
yeah. So roughly 170.
I'll make a motion to what's the company's name? I'm sorry.
Verkada.
Make a motion for the sheriff's department to start the procedures with Verkada for the install or the R&R of the camera system at the sheriff's apartment building to not exceed $170,000. Out of the tribal funds.
And that will include the maintenance contract to take care of it, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's a 10-year
Shouldn't be any
plan.
additional.
Yep, 10-year plan.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve the camera system through Ricotta and the tribal funds. Is there any discussion?
Down the,
ERKADA.
down the road, will that be, we able to, when we have to, time comes to upgrade the courthouse, will they be able to interface?
And that would be,
I mean, that's down the road.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I would hate to spend this money onto a plan that 7 years from now, we need to upgrade the courthouse
Yeah.
and we can't.
Yeah.
So,
No, they stated they can integrate the current system, our courthouse system. And that would be, that's a good idea, and a good plan of action.
down the road, we can just get the whole camera system under one
Yep,
umbrella.
yep, that would be good.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
That was very painful.
It was painful for us, but I imagine, thank you so much. That's, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Large amount.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
On to old business. Taking out vault side. So big expectations. Or did we wanna,
This Ken, I thought Ken was gonna work, was Ken gonna work with me?
Now with Michael hasn't come with us, we're with a good expectation for.
so we need to,
So we can review. He's been looking at
Do you wanna,
at least for an update to the next.
is there any way we could just say that, like, there's 5 or 10 things that this board expects, like, temper just to kill a few minutes, because, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe for some direction for the people that are trying to develop it. Would that be okay?
Yeah, you guys can email Ken what you guys would like Michael to work on, and then he can work it into that stuff.
I mean, like warning, what we're all, you know, I mean, we need to know, of course, depending on the cost of whether, if they're out of state or in state.
Well,
I mean,
and I thought you guys could warranty on the work and then warranty on.
yeah,
Installation, product warranty.
Detailed breakdown of materials.
yeah.
Next one.
Instead of just the price.
Yeah.
Can you write that down? So that,
Yes.
please. Yeah. Do we feel like we're covered, like with this deal that happened with Ray? Like, are we, and I understand it was faulty equipment, is there anything, like protection against, like, I suppose it'd be warranty, it'd fall under warranty, right? I mean, if they install something that's faulty.
And they were supposed to do a letter for us, did we get that?
They need to do the letter, but then he needs to make a real sign. Michael does.
That's what I was just gonna say, any long-term, contract for repairs and, equipment, we should always look at those contracts. So we don't end up with another fault site.
So like a mandatory attorney review? I don't know what, is that the wording we're looking for, or?
Well, it depends, I guess, if they're slapping some paint somewhere, you know, I think it would behoove us to ask those questions. I mean, it's,
But on one, like maintenance
yeah,
contracts,
something
long-term,
more, yeah,
he should be looking at those, or,
definitely something like the expensive elevator issues, you know, I mean,
Well, and honestly, wouldn't we have looked at it differently if they would have said, yeah, we're painting the cupola out there. We're not gonna prime it or prep it, so your time is gonna be minimized with how long it stays. I mean, I don't know what to call that, but the details, the devil's in the details, and if we would have done that differently, maybe we would have chose differently. I don't know.
yeah.
On an itemized bid, just to put itemized on there without maybe a sample sheet or what exactly we're asking for on these bids. Some interpretations of itemized can be different than other businesses. So if we've got some sort of an example to say this is what we need on the bid process, that way, if it's not received that way, it just won't be accepted
Like
as a
a
bid.
breakdown checklist.
Exactly. You know what your labors are, you know what your materials are, you know, everything is broken down. A lot of the bids that we've been getting in, we've noticed recently, maybe their idea of itemized, but it's very bland. This is pretty much the work that we're doing for the total expense, so much more detail in what we're getting bid for.
I mean, I would like to see like a master checklist that we as a board go through when we put this bid out, like, oh, well, the dollar amounts, we don't need to go through this much here and check that off. So when it's done, we've covered from the manufacturer's warranty, the installation warranty, to if it's deemed that it's a high enough dollar value that we need to have the attorney look at the service contract, have that all in a checklist. It's like, now this is just a little, it's replacing 10-foot sidewalk, we can check, we don't need this, this is what we expect in your bid. Or if it's a major contract like this camera installation, like, hey, this is what we expect, and we don't check nothing off that list, and this is what we expect on our bid from them.
Very similar to like a contract with a bridge. I mean,
Yep.
It's amazing the difference between going down that phase or going through a Wyoming camera system.
Yeah.
But just, if we had like a master checklist, like, with this bid packet, we want all stuff included. If it's a small bid, no, we don't need all this stuff included, we just cross that off when we give it to the contractor to bid.
Michael could develop something like that for us.
We need to give guidelines on
Just give him the
what we
direction.
expect and have him, get the proper wording and the legal contract side of it in there for us.
So say anything mechanical or I mean, anything over X dollar amount, I don't know how you phase it.
I think it just have to be done on a per case basis when we put that out there is,
A major and a minor
Yeah.
expectation list and detail oriented, how detail oriented we want to get on.
I think we as a board need to compile that list, and give Michael direction to it, so he can get it ready for us. But we as a board need to put it down there for him.
Yeah.
Do we want to put a time frame that he needs to get that done? Because, I mean, a bid could happen anytime. And where do you start it?
Problem
The next bid, or?
is that's a good idea. The problem is until we give him direction with a detailed list.
Right.
I don't know what you want. I mean, unless what Becky's writing down, if we all are comfortable with.
We need a workshop with Mike on this topic. More space and time.
I think that's a good idea.
Makes me have I think we can cover more ground on
Instead of even trying to guide him.
Good idea. Good.
Oh, it's face to face and not third party. I think it's a great idea. Do we want to join the procurement policy, because really they're kind of linked in some ways. But we'll just get to that with him, that way we're sending the same message. All right.
Well, we're still under old business, are you here for the, this is kind of old business.
Well, Karen said that's just.
Yeah, this is just for visual
It's
only.
not.
I appreciate it.
So, you see Drew's on here.
I'm gonna run down the restroom though.
What's that?
I'm gonna run down the restroom.
I'm sorry.
Restroom.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll read, when we meet at 10 o'clock.
Maybe get Drew on in time. Pardon me. How are you?
I know, I've been seeing them. Why not, we're about to do the 10 o'clock. Good job. Oh, I don't know, I didn't check That's pretty awful.
Okay, we'll get started again since Drew's on. Drew, you're on. Yeah, she's on there. Good morning, Drew. How are you?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm great. I hope you're doing well this morning.
Welcome, and floor's all yours.
Okay, I appreciate it. So there are a few updates. I think, as you probably know, the Newcastle BLM Resource Management Plan revision was released in the Federal Register on Friday, the 15th. And so we will have 90 days to provide comments on the draft environmental impact statement. And I think that actually expires sometime around February 15th or 16th. So we've got some time. My plan is that I'm going to schedule a meeting maybe the second or third week of December with the county commissioners and the conservation district for just to get organized, and maybe it'll be virtual. And so we'll just go through some things about how we're going to look at that document and analyze it. And then I'm hoping to have an in-person / virtual meeting in January where we can have a workshop and maybe sit down and go through our comments so that I can start drafting them. So that gives us a little bit of time to start reviewing the document. I have not begun my review yet because we're at Sagegrass right now, which I'll report on in a minute. But the plan is, I believe, the BLM is working to schedule some public meetings. I think in the second or third week of January. The last I heard, they were going to try to have a public meeting in each of the 3 counties. So in Niobrara, Weston, and Crook. And then there was going to be a virtual meeting scheduled for the public. So we will also be working with Jeannie Whalen on this project to kind of rally the troops and get the message out to the public to kind of look at the document, generate some enthusiasm about it, and maybe we can get some of the groups or some of the public to provide us feedback on the areas that they're concerned with so that we can make sure that we incorporate those into the commissioner's comments. So that's where we're at right now with BLM. Are there any questions? And I think Jeannie's on, and I would also ask if she had any thoughts or questions or ideas as well before we get off this subject.
Yeah, I will be attending all the public meetings in Weston and Crook.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Yeah, I will be attending all the public meetings in Weston and Crook. I know that at the BLM will be advertising these meetings, and I will go forward and advertise even more in the county newspaper. So you guys should hear it. If Weston County has like a public page that we could put that on, that would be great to have that too, to get the word out to everybody.
Yeah, I think you can go on the website.
Great.
If you want to reach out to Becky and we'll get that information on the website.
Okay,
All right.
that would be great. Thank you.
And we did ask them to avoid Commissioner Tuesdays, and we also asked them to avoid the week of WCCA's legislative meetings. I think it's the week of the 18th or 19th in Cheyenne. So we asked them to avoid that week as well.
All right.
Any question?
None right now for that subject. Go ahead.
Okay, we've got some work to do. But the good news is we've seen a change in administrations. So if there are things that are going to come out of this document that we have a lot of heartburn with, I do have high hopes that we'll be able to sit down with the BLM and go through those. between the draft EIS and the final. So I think there's some good news for the timing of this document for all 3 counties. We're also in the middle of sage grouse. The final EIS was posted in the Federal Register also last Friday, the 15th. It allows us 30 days to file a protest. We are filing a protest, and I am working with Micah at WCCA. I think the goal is, again, to get a protest and to get a template for the counties, that the counties can come back and plug in their information and send it in directly, just like we did on the draft. So I'll be working with Micah on that. Comments are due, I believe, around December. Protest is due December 16th. So we'll try to get all of that information back to you the week before for approval and submittal. I assume that Weston County Commissioners will direct me to do what you've asked me to do in the past, which is take the template, fill it out with all your information based on Weston County's land use plan, and send you a final draft for review for approval. So we're in the middle of that review right now. Are there any questions?
No questions at this time.
Am I correct in your direction to me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So there are, since we are in a protest, we are working with the state leadership team, which does include the governor's office, it includes Game and Fish, and it includes working with the AG's office, who's working with the state, because there's a consistency review period that's running concurrently with this for the governor. So we are working with them, and of course Bob Budd is in those discussions as well as the lead for sage-grouse. So there are some things in here that we will be protesting. The way this is going to happen, the protest is going to be due December 16th. The governor's consistency review is due January 17th. The new administration takes over sometime around the 20th of January. We're not sure that that gives BLM time to actually issue a record of decision on this document. It's going to be super tight. So there may be a chance, this is a high chance, that this record of decision is going to morph into the new administration. And I'm sure that there's talks that are going on right now about this being one of those priority issues. So I can't guarantee where it's going to go, but we still have to go through the process and do our protest and follow it accordingly for litigation purposes. So, any questions?
Still silence, we're good.
Okay, sounds good. And then for Thunder Basin, I'm not sure if you were aware, but the United States Court of Appeals, the 10th Circuit, they did order a judgment and dissent against Western Water, again, a dissent in the case of Western Watersheds. And basically they reversed the lower court's decision. The lower court actually ruled in favor of the Forest Service and the state of Wyoming in saying that the NEPA document was adequate and the implementation plan that we came up with through the 2020 plan amendment was adequate. The 10th Circuit has now reversed that decision, and the court is remanding it back for the appropriate remedy. So the majority determined that the need statement was too narrow. We were too narrowly focused on prairie dogs and how we were going to manage prairie dogs. They thought we precluded reasonable considerations of alternatives, specifically non-lethal controls, translocation, increasing prairie dog acreage, and reducing livestock grazing. So although the Forest Service did discuss each of these alternatives, the majority found that it failed to provide an adequate explanation as to why it rejected them. So because of this, we do have on the books a Thunder Basin working group meeting for January 14th. To my knowledge, that's not going to be, that hasn't been canceled at this point. But with this new decision and with the remand, I'm not sure where we're gonna go from here, because basically what they're saying is we can't implement the plan until we go back and deal with this NEPA. So I will keep you posted, working with WCCA, the governor's office, and the AG's office on next steps. And I'll keep you posted as we move forward. Are there any questions on that?
No questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. So NOGA, the National Old Growth Amendment with the Forest Service, we did submit our comments. Weston County did submit comments by the September 20th deadline. There will be a meeting on Thursday, this Thursday, 2 days from now, at 10:30. We'll be meeting with the USDA, the Secretary's Office, and the Forest Service to talk about issues that came out of that with cooperating agencies, next steps, and how they plan to proceed. This is going to be another one of those NEPA documents that's going to kind of fall probably in that gray zone of if they issue the final EIS, which they have not yet, we have 30 days to protest, and then they have a certain period of time to get the rod out. It may not happen within this administration. So I'm sure those questions are going to be asked on Thursday about plan and process going forward. It's my understanding that they wouldn't be prepared to submit a final to the public until December, which again puts them very close to the next administration. So you will probably hear from Micah, I suspect, commissioners, on next steps after Thursday's meeting. Are there any questions on that? And just so you know, if they do issue the final, we will be protesting. We still disagree that this amendment was handled at the landscape level. You can't amend 128 plans across the United States for the same stuff. It should be dealt with at the forest unit level. So we are very aligned on that in the state of Wyoming, and I suspect anything short of that will be protesting.
Any questions for Drew? No questions, Drew.
Okay, so I think just the last thing is there's a lot of outstanding things with the new administration coming in. I think we've got a lot of priorities in the natural resource space that we would like to see addressed. I'm sure the short list covers the Buffalo decision for no coal leasing in the Powder River Basin. We have not seen the record of decision on that yet, but I think it will probably be issued before the administration takes over. We'll also be looking closely at the public lands rule, the Rock Springs Resource Management Plan. BLM just put on our lap a week ago new internal guidance regarding wilderness study areas and lands with wilderness characteristic policies, so we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at NOGA and probably some other things. So we're talking about some of these priorities now on where we align and where we want to see priorities of administration when they take over about relooking at some of these documents, policy decisions, and guidance. So that's really all I've got. Commissioners, if you've got any questions, I'd be happy to see if I can entertain some answers.
Anything? Nothing at this time. I appreciate the update very much. I'm sure the board does too. Thank you guys for your hard work.
Okay, feel free to reach out if you need to. It's good to see everybody. Becky, thanks for getting us on the agenda.
You're welcome. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Jeannie. Thank you guys.
All right. Chamber update. Do we have?
I'm here.
We're here. Sorry.
Alrighty. Well, I'm Henry Nessel, President of the Chamber of Commerce, Newcastle Area Chamber of Commerce. And just want to give you a brief update on what the Chamber's been doing and getting ready to do. Currently, our visitor center, which has been a bone of contention because it's not been open
a lot has been staying open, primarily with a volunteer. This allows our new staffer, Jennifer, to be out working on chamber development, and she's been quite busy at that. More volunteers would be very helpful if we can get them. I understand Jennifer will be working on that. Also, the building has been in need of some updating, so it's currently under minor refurbishment. It's being painted on the inside. The lavatory is being updated with new facilities or fixtures, excuse me. Because what we've noticed is when we get visitors in, first place they go is the bathroom, and then they come out and start asking questions and getting maps. So we're getting things presentable and more presentable. As you know, our new employee Jennifer is the chamber executive director. She is out in the community every day doing chamber development, visiting businesses and increasing membership. She's brought in, I can remember, at least 20 new members since her employment. So she's still working on it. She's right now preparing for the annual meeting, which is this Saturday. I'm watching texts going back and forth. Well, speaking of Saturday, the annual meeting of the chamber is this coming Saturday. There will be an election for a new board of directors member. And then after that meeting is over, there'll be an election of new officers by the board of directors. At that time, I will be stepping down. After 2 years tenure, I'm going to move on and allow new people to come in and take over the chamber and work with it. It needs to grow. I'm getting all this. I write things down, I can't read my own writing. Lastly, at least a year ago, I asked about some work between chamber and different governments here in the county, primarily city and county, dealing with a request that was made by a city councilman to bring in, or to at least approach Springfield Armory to try to move them here since the laws in Illinois were getting so negative. I'd ask that you all and that body also would be willing to work with the chamber and what kind of rules and what would you be willing to give us concession to bring in such an industry or business. Never heard back from y'all, but that's where we need to ask that. I ask this as the chamber moves forward, even without me, that you work in partnership with the chamber and the business community, because a viable business community is life and wellness of Weston County, Newcastle, and our entire area. Other than that, thank you all very much. Thank you.
No questions for him?
Any questions?
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
still
you,
reachable by
Henry.
phone.
Hey, Henry, when did you reach out to it? Like, I don't recall this ever
It was
happening.
I'd have to go back in your all's records.
Did you send an email to everybody?
No, I stood here and
Oh, you
talked about
did?
it.
I might have missed the meeting. I remember that. Thanks, Henry.
Don't worry, it didn't just happen here, it happened over there too.
Moving on to redistricting. Moving on to redistricting update. So many of you were at the meeting that Chip was at the BFW yesterday. And I believe you guys recall I expressed concern because this has been tough because I gave my word that I would follow through and I believe in what your purpose and what your cause is. And I think the commissioners here, and I said yesterday that every commissioner here agrees with, in theory, what you guys are standing for with this redistricting. I'm so sorry. I believe there's going to be a lot of speed bumps and problems, and I think we've kind of started to see some of those because this hasn't been done before. And we're all going with the never been done before, so what's the proper procedure? And we have to convince others that the way we're doing it is the way that it should be handled. So I intend to keep my word, as I said yesterday, based on the vote of the people that were at the meeting with Chip to put in for your nomination for senator. But I say again, and I told Chip this yesterday, it's not a secret. I hope that we're doing this in a way that will be taken seriously. And it's always been my intent to listen to the people. But I'm not exactly sure, because I've gotten different reports from different people, including Chip, which I told him yesterday, that seem to kind of stand in the middle of the road. So I will keep my word. It's really up to the board on what they do. I will keep my word and nominate that senator. And how it proceeds from there, as I said yesterday, we don't have a fight. We don't have the finances to help with that fight, even though we believe in it. And you guys seemed to be okay with that yesterday, and you acknowledged that. But it concerns me because you also saw the paperwork that Chip run with him, and the greeting that you're going to get. The road is nothing but uphill, and that doesn't mean the battle can't be won. It just means I believe what Chip told me was it will end up in court. How it ends up in court or where it gets there is a different issue, but I will keep my word because I believe in what's there, but I'm not exactly sure now that the process that we're doing is the right one, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I hope that it works out the way that we want it to and sends the message that you want it to send. So I wanted to be fair and upfront. I've tried to be fair and upfront about it. So the process that we're going to do today is simply the two names that are left on there. From what I was told, we need to vote on a number 1 and number 2 in case they withdraw. And then from there, I don't have the answer what happens after that. Just know that, and it's not my intention to lead you guys in a position that's wrong. But I think all the commissioners here feel like they support how you do that, what the Constitution says. I just don't think we all agree on the process. And I can't say that in full certainty that my way I'm thinking it should go is the way that it should go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So the two names that are left on the list are, would you please state your name?
Patricia Bauman.
And
Sue Morales.
Sue Morales. There's supposed to be an interview process on this, and I will allow the commissioners to interview how they want to before we decide on that. We'll name a number. Yep.
We have 5 days to act when the Central Committee brings names forward. We are way past the 5 days.
Understand.
I look for legal counsel to direct us where do we go? We are way past the 5 days the Central Committee brought names forward. Will we be breaking the law if we move forward with this procedure right now? We're past the 5-day deadline.
It's statutory law. It is, yeah.
Should be in the resolution. For statute.
Which title is it?
Yes.
It's not 18, what is it?
In fairness to Commissioner Wagner, asked the same question yesterday, and in fairness, this is simply, we did nominate a senator within that time frame, and that person withdrew. So I'm making it public on the next people that were on the list. So according to what I was told by our representative, we're within our rights to name that successor. We didn't do it in public forum, and I wanted it to be public and transparent, so we're just naming the person that withdrew once they were nominated.
Who's your representative?
The letter was received October 21st.
It was nominated that it was William Curley, and he withdrew due to health reasons.
Thank you. So wouldn't the whole vacancy process be restarted again?
Honestly, Commissioner, I asked the same question, and they said we should have at the time nominated a first, second, and third. You did not do that, so I was told we needed to go to an open forum. You guys were all there yesterday, and we needed to nominate the second and third. Go ahead.
The word due diligence was used with me.
Yep.
You did that within your 5 days, and then because of the withdrawal, if this were to go to a court, it would be that you have then used due diligence to rectify the issue in a timely manner and in a public manner.
Go ahead.
Wasn't the nomination process held on the 6th day?
Well, that would be a question of whether you count the weekend or not, which my understanding is you don't.
And that, in fairness, that's what was stated yesterday too, that we do not count those days, but you are correct on if you did.
I'm not familiar with.
It all seems smoke and mirrors to me anyways, because we're not even following any statute whatsoever in the first place by doing all this. Like, I'm not 100% certain we're not breaking the law in some format by attempting to do this. So, it's almost like this is democracy dying because we demand that we have this, you know, and we're not following any statutory law.
Your statute was mentioned in your resolution on
Which one?
declaring vacancies. There's a statute.
We have no authority, Patricia.
Our county attorney that day stated we did not have the criteria to declare a vacancy that day.
It's in this LSO's opinion right here.
I don't know, if you guys are waiting for an opinion from me, it ain't gonna be quick. I was just here to take notes because this murder trial's been, it's been delayed for like 2 years and this is the day the judge could come, so.
Again, I think that, I don't know the answer here, but I believe that's what we said we would do, or at least 3 of us said that we would do. I don't know if that opinion has changed, but I will follow through with that, and from there, I kept my word as commissioner, and I don't know where it's gonna go from there. So, it's really up to the commission, the other commissioners on the nomination. Is there any questions for the 2 that have been nominated? Go ahead.
I got a question. What's your strategy to circumvent the sergeant at arms down there when he refuses to seat you? And then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna beat the doors down and circumnavigate the Wyoming Highway Patrol? I mean,
I think we discussed this yesterday. I mean, I think that if we are not seated, I think we're gonna go up into the gallery and we've made our position that we are not following the Constitution by not having a representative and a senator for each county. So at this point, it's not about we demand representation. It's like we want to put our case out there saying that this is something that we're not following state constitution and we want to make a show of it. So we're not going to be showing force. We're just going to be making a statement basically and following that.
Can that argument be made? It's already been made. I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed at this point from some of the articles in the Cowboy State Daily. I mean, the statement has been made. And I think you've got a representative in here right now that is well aware of what's going on, along with J.D. Williams. I think that the conversation is going to happen. The statement's been made, but
I think that this will continue to put pressure on the legislature that we need to go forward with it. So I proposing that you go ahead and do what the county commissioners have done before, or kind of started, and select a senator.
Go ahead, Tricia.
A great point was made yesterday. Counties do not have representation. Districts have representation. So whoever you choose will be representing a district that is bounded by county lines, but it's not the county. And it even got brought up that the county itself can't sue the legislature because this is a district, and you're not a district, you're a county. So separate the two. The person you choose would be representing a district that happens to be bounded by your county lines. The only thing that according to how I understand it, the county commissioners can fill a vacancy, but after that, you're out of it. You're a county. The people you're appointing are representing a district. If there would be like a lawsuit, you can't even bring it. You can't. You're not the ones that are represented. It's the people in the district. It would be the people in the district who would have to bring a lawsuit.
Well, and in fairness too, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was reminded yesterday that one of the hurdles may be a timing issue because your current representative, Alan Slagle, is within the county line. So we're claiming a vacancy not based on outside of the county when in fact he lives inside of the county. So timing is, I heard all the arguments yesterday. That was one of the concerns that was brought up. I think you would agree, so.
Alan Schlegel represents half of York. He represents, it's not your county. He represents half the people in what would be a Weston County district.
Correct.
Not even all of them.
I understand.
So now you have half the people in Weston County, you don't have somebody living in what they are so calling a district now.
I understand.
So Alan doesn't represent everyone according to what they're doing now.
Well, and I said it yesterday, we're not in court right now, and we're talking as if we are. We're not the people that have to be convinced.
Right.
That's a fight that you're gonna have to.
I'm trying to alleviate some concerns
I understand.
that push back on the commissioners, because you're declaring a vacancy, which, I mean, the way I read it, you do have the authority to declare the vacancies, you're filling them, but
and that is
after
what
that,
we were told, yes.
you're out of it. I mean, it's not the county.
We were not told by our county attorney that though. We were told that by William Curley's opinion. So I'm abstaining from this because it only takes 3 of you to move forward, but I'm not taking part in it.
I guess I believe in this enough that I am blessed more than some, but not as much as others, and yet I'm willing to stake what I have on there. I don't really want my, I've got grandkids that I want to be able to send to college here in 3 years or so. And it's going to be tight as it is, but yet this is something that I believe in enough that I'm willing to put my neck out for it, and Tricia too. I mean, and so, if you want to sing, I understand, but I think we're not following the Constitution. Our county and other counties like us don't have the representation that is afforded them by the Constitution, the state Constitution. And by us going down there, we don't want to go being belligerent, but saying, this is what the Constitution says. If you don't want to see this, fine. Well, hopefully the legislature will be aware of this and be able to bring legislation forward in this session to follow the Constitution of Wyoming.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
Aware of this and be able to bring legislation forward in this session to follow the Constitution of Wyoming. So that's my position.
Factually, the Article 3, Section 3 is specific on the districts in which the state should be recognized. There isn't anyone, if you ask anyone in the state of Wyoming, are we district according to our Constitution in Article 3, Section 3, they have to say no.
Right.
You have to say no because we are not district in accordance to Article 3, Section 3. Now, as was mentioned yesterday, this issue gets compounded when something doesn't get dealt with completely. If in 1991, the state of Wyoming decides that, yes, we are going to district it in a way that we are today, then Article 3, Section 3 needs to be amended. Without the amending of the Constitution, the reason why this becomes a problem is elected officials take an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. Is the state adhering to the Constitution in which we are to uphold? That's a question that needs to be answered. There's division on this commissioner board because of what is how the state is district currently and how Article 3, Section 3 is written. That is the division that you see. It's not that we all maybe don't desire a certain thing. Maybe we want our districts to be county. Some people have said we don't agree with the process in which we are going. Is this the right process? Well, if we knew the right process, we'd already be there, right? Because it would have worked already. But we've had testimonies that commissioners have gone down to Cheyenne, fought tooth and nail to keep our county whole. And guess what? That didn't work. So we can't honestly say, well, in another 8 years, we'll go down there and try it again because the tooth and nail that was put into it the first round failed. We have to try something different. And even if it's a voice in a different angle, I still am confident that we're on the right path.
I can maybe alleviate another concern, and I believe Sue is in agreement, that we have no beef with the federal Constitution. We're not fighting the federal Constitution. We're all for the one man, one vote. We're not going there. We want to keep this as a state issue. And we either want to follow our state constitution or properly amend our state constitution. And if something tries to go federal, I'm not on that bandwagon. I'm not against the federal
Well, I understand too.
interpretation.
As I said yesterday, I think it's inevitable that it'll go there.
It should go state.
Well, it should, but that doesn't mean it will.
But if it goes federal, I'm not on that bandwagon and I'm not in that fight. I'm not in that fight.
Before any other comments that we need to make, and then we'll go. Senator Albert. Okay, go ahead, Senator.
I'd just like to say that as a resident of Weston County, I'm not embarrassed by this process at all. Actually, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm proud of the men and women and elected officials that have the sensitivity and the courage to take a stand that needed to be taken for many, many years, decades. And I'm totally in line with selecting a senator today. Nobody, and then I also take exception to the fact that every time we try to do something like this and send somebody down to Cheyenne, we've got to be warned about violence and all that. We're not a violent people. We've never demonstrated violence, and we're not going down there with that. We'll go down there with the people selected and let the legislator currently in office deny them to be seated and deny their oath of office they took to represent and protect the Constitution of the state of Wyoming and in our national Constitution. And Article 3, Section 3 is clear. We don't govern by footnotes. We govern by articles in the Constitution. And there's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of agonizing. And you're never going to get it just right. You're never going to answer every question. You got to do it, and that's when the questions will happen. So I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud for Weston County. I'm proud for the people. And I'm proud for the legislators that had the courage to take a stand that should have been done back in '92. So I'm on board with this, and yeah, full speed ahead.
Thank you,
Damn the
Senator.
people.
Go ahead, Senator.
Tiny bit of history and not a lot. I fully am on board with what you're trying to do. I think you're taking the wrong route, but I'm fully on board. It's been an issue since first year I got elected. I've been in 12 years, and it was an issue when I came. We tried to draft bills clear back then. There's some roadblocks, and then, like I said, I think the process was wrong, but I am going to read the Wyoming Constitution to you because all of you need to understand this, because we're talking Constitution a whole bunch. So Article 1, Section...
Okay.
Yes.
If you could leave off the amendment that the verbiage that they added at the end of the Article 3.
It's a footnote.
That is not relative to this conversation. It's not legal document.
So, and I've lost where it's at, but basically, it's in Article 1. I got to find it here. Wyoming, when they became a state, and formed their constitution. Let me go back and find it one more time. I'm sorry about that. I had it up and it disappeared on me. I'm not as good as my phone is out of me, but basically what it says, and I can go back and get it and I can make copies for you. But one of the earliest articles in our Constitution says we will abide by the supreme law of the land and U.S. government, which is the U.S. Constitution. And that is how the one man, one vote came about. It is not, and it supersedes our Constitution. And if you're going to follow our Constitution, the overriding part of it says you will adhere to the U.S. Constitution. And via a court case, and you can recognize or not recognize them, I've been through this with part of you before, but the Supreme Court is what rules on the Constitution. And they found that one man, one vote holds up. I can tell you right now, we're trying to draft a bill to do exactly what you want. J.D. Williams and I have been working on it. I'm happy to work with any of you. Nobody from here has asked about it for a decade or more. The last part, there's a little bit of bitterness. I chaired the redistricting committee for the corporation. I did it for 1 reason. I did it to keep Weston County whole. I've worked ad nauseum with part of your commissioners, and I tried to make it whole. And as we went through that, you'll see every plan I presented all the way through to the last one kept Weston County whole. In the middle of it, we didn't have anybody from Weston County come other than Marty Urban show up on it, other than people opposed to it. Representative Nyman, which I attended as well, had a meeting in Upton in the middle of redistricting, said, do you want whole or do you want split? The people were split at the meeting. In the meetings we had afterwards, which was a half dozen or more, no comments came from anybody in Weston County. And consequently, how are you to decide what you're going to do? This has been part of the problem in this county is, you know, I go back, I'm looking at your county attorney, is one point in time, Representative Hunt and I changed the law so you could have a county attorney from outside of your county. And 2 years later, you came back and wanted a law to make it where your commissioners lived inside the county. And it's really hard to represent when you're asking to do both sides of a lot of issues. And mine is, I work for you. I will tell you, as far as Weston County or not, I believe you ought to have your own, no disagreement. As far as representation, and I'm looking at you, Don, as you talked about me not showing up, the road hearing was here, I've come over here. Anytime you guys have called me and asked me to be here, I've been here. Upton and Osage, ad nauseum, I go in front of boards for them. I consider the commissioners in particular in Weston County part of my district, because Upton and Osage and that end of it lay within it, your guys' jurisdiction as well. But I don't come to meetings to sit all day at these meetings. I show up when I'm asked to come to one, I ask when you want something. And that's the way I do it. And as far as going to the other end of the meetings, I'm happy to come do town halls if you're treated with respect in the court. Last 3 or 4 I've been to, all they've been is people bitching, moaning, and crying mad. And you know, I'll continue to represent every person. I hope the press puts it in the paper. I'll represent every person in Weston County where I have my family came from here. I'm proud of this county. I think it's full of great people. There's methods and ways to do it. But creating a really hard strife isn't a great one. And I have no problem whether you see it or not. You know, I can tell you they're not going to be seated because they weren't duly elected. When you really look, we just got done with an election in November. And the correct process is to do it would then put people on the ballot. Because what you're doing now is actually not filling a vacancy. You created a position and then declared a vacancy, and that's different. You know, if you want a vacancy declared, probably ought to whack me on the way out of here today, and there'll be a vacancy at your next meeting. You know, that's the easiest route. So with that,
I acknowledge what you're saying. I just would like to make one correction. It wasn't just Marty Ertman at your last redistricting. It was Wagner, myself were there with Chip Nyman before you had left. And I made comments to Barton at the time that was there. So that isn't, whether it's an oversight or whatever, I was there.
That probably was. I think we had 20-some meetings on redistricting.
Well, I was there for.
What meeting was this at?
When redistricting started, we were there the first couple of days.
Okay.
And to represent Weston County, so it wasn't just Commissioner Ertman, she did fight for it, I will acknowledge that, but we were there.
Did any of you come to the meeting in Upton when we were trying, because we were in the middle of it, they changed
Yes.
the plan twice, and I begged, I actually called people and said, you know, I went to your local paper, I went on Facebook, said, you know, if you guys care about Weston County whole, you better be here, because, by the way, I was taking a grub in half of my district, it's Campbell County, and they did not want it that way.
We even went to the meeting in Moorcroft. A couple of us did.
Yes, and it's, whether it's an oversight or not, it's irrelevant at this point. I hear what you're saying, and I acknowledge it, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Representatives were
There's
there.
probably some other people showed up, you know, we had thousands of people at the meetings, and I actually was emailing some different people back and forth on it, and it was in between, when you got constituents on both sides, you got to weigh on it. You know, part of what I was hearing is we want 2 senators and 2 reps, and part of what I was hearing, we wanted whole, and, but those first 3 or 4 meetings, with about 350 votes out of compliance, we could have made every single county be virtually whole as in the Constitution. I'm going to tell you, the entire group went against that. I voted against redistricting, by the way. When it got done, I was a no vote. I was chairman of the committee. It's almost unheard of to have a guy chair a committee and then vote against the final bill, and I did. Stood on the floor and argued how silly it was what we just done. So my apologies to you.
Thank you for attending that. We do appreciate your comments, Commissioner.
I appreciate your comments, Senator. Could you answer a question? The question I've got is, do you know why Article 3, Section 3 was not put to the vote of the people and amended 35 years ago prior to changing the districting to its current districts?
You go back to Earl Christensen's days. I don't, you know, I wasn't around. It was here when I got here. We've looked at it. Constitutional amendments, my guess is the reason it wasn't done is because there's court ruling that invalidated it. You can redo it, but it really doesn't matter. And, you know, even Tracy tried to sue him after the last redistricting 20 years ago. Me or them?
Last comment, then we'll move on to what we came here to do. Go ahead.
I'd like to point out that it is possible to follow both constitutions. You can follow the government, the federal constitution, and you can follow our constitution. It would result in a huge legislature. But don't tell me that Article 3, Section 3 is null and void because of what the federal government said. We have chosen to not have a huge legislature. If we would follow Article 3, Section 3 and the federal government, we'd have like 250 representatives. reason to not have a huge legislature. If we would follow Article 3, Section 3 and the federal government, we'd have like 250 representatives. Well, that's telling me that it's possible. It may not be what we want, but don't tell me that that article is null and void, because it is possible to follow both.
I think everyone acknowledges, and everyone here that's already stated, we're in support of it, which is why I'm going to follow through with what I said I was going to do. I'm wondering about the process and the path too. I hope it's the correct thing, because I don't want it to interfere with what the real message is here. So, all right. So we have 2 nominees. Do I have a nomination for our Senate position? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
According to what our county attorney advised us last April, I'm going to totally abstain from this because of what it's his recommendation, and I don't feel it's right and legal, so I am abstaining from this.
I understand. Thank you. Go ahead.
I move to nominate Sue Morales for the senator position.
I have a nomination of Sue Morales for the Senate vacancy spot. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a motion that has been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Any? All those in favor of nominating Sue, and I'd like to add if Sue withdraws that we had the second nomination, if you would correct that motion.
I accept that.
Okay. So I have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor of nominating Sue Morales, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck on this.
One last, there you go. I'm presiding officer. What would you like to advise me on what I do What's your thoughts? And my second question is this. Do you still recognize me as your senator or not? That's yes or no?
I recognize you as our senator. I'm not speaking for the board. My recommendation on this, I'm torn between, I believe in the Constitution of Wyoming, and I believe that there's a way that a lot of these statutes are interpreted. I think people would say you could argue it either way. I hope that the legislature looks at it with an open mind, and at very minimal looks at a way to satisfy the people that that elected them. So I don't know the right answer here, but I hope that their mission is successful and that there is a better way to represent within the county. So that's my opinion. Go ahead.
I'm sure that, I think that's where a lot of the press that we've gotten has gotten out of hand. We recognize you as our senator. You are the senator for your district. This is about a different district, the Weston County lines as a district. And we're not creating a position. We're nominating for vacancies that were made back in 1991.
Now I found the Constitution, I'll read it to you. It does clarify, this isn't statutes, folks. This is Constitution. This is Wyoming Constitution, and it's how we became a state. We had to become a state. As we did it, we had to acknowledge certain things. Now, we stood up on certain things. Women's equality, quote was, we'll die before we won't be a state. On the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 37, the Constitution of the United States, supreme law of the land. The state of Wyoming is an inseparable part of the Union, and the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. What has happened in every court case that's ever come under that, on any state that has that clause? The judge will rule that the federal Constitution sits over the state Constitution. We made an acknowledgement. Whatever they have in their Constitution is our Constitution, and it's part of how we became a state. So you can go about this process in different ways, but you have to read the entire Constitution. You can't read one piece of it against another piece.
Senator, Could you tell me what article and section that is?
Article 1, Section 37.
Thank you.
Right before healthcare freedom, which is one of mine.
And to go along with that statement of Ogden, that much more reason that Article 3, Section 3 should have been amended at that moment, if that's the way that it was going to be followed. Then
No disagreement.
The amendment needed to be made.
No disagreement.
Right, Senator, a question.
Go ahead.
So, we're supposed to have sovereign borders, too, right, in this country,
You do?
according to the Constitution? Are there any illegal aliens in the state of Wyoming? You don't?
I would guess there is.
Well, then why are we getting them out of here? If we follow the Constitution, like you said, why are we getting them out of
I'm
here?
proud to be talking to your sheriff, your county commissioner.
Well, I'm talking to you, because you brought
You
up.
know, you're doing what always happens. I set policy.
No, this
No,
is-
sir. No, stop.
Point of order.
We set policy. I don't enforce laws.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank all of
coming.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks a lot. By the way, back to your forest plans, whatnot, I will do anything I can, you know, that end of June is part of what I'm talking about, is talking about me not being here. Last year's budget, the reason you have Drew and the consultants is I put $1 million in for the Black Hills National Forest and the plans, all the pine beetle plans up there. You know, it's been really hurtful to me to do large amounts of work and never have it acknowledged as far as any of it. And then be roundly told you don't show up and represent the county. And I'm gonna look at you and say, yeah, I'm all done, I'm not running again. But it's painful. I've watched past senators, past representatives here, and it's part of the breakdown of what's happening right now is there's no respect other than if you have it your own way.
Appreciate it all. We
It's painful.
need to keep rolling here. Thank you.
Oh, I do.
Okay. Moving on. New business clerk's reporting and. Yep, go ahead, Gary.
Well, last meeting we had, our Zoom went down about halfway through the meeting. So it just put a question in my mind. You know, how do the newspapers get their information once that goes down if they're not here? And Becky said they can come listen to her recording. And I was under the understanding from Becky that that was her personal recording, that she uses that for her minutes and then you get rid of it. So that was made a concern in my mind because it's not public record. And so if you let the newspapers look at it, but maybe no one else, or listen to it, I'm sorry, and maybe not let anybody else listen to it. I think those audio recordings, we either, because our Zoom's not working all the time, and we can all admit freely it's not working all the time. And it's really important to have something historical to go back on. I know in the past, I think people have been worried, you know, maybe historical's not good, but I think at this point, I would like to see the audio recordings be kept as historical minutes, part of our historical minutes, and they could be put on the website for anyone to listen to. If the Zoom goes down and somebody really needed to listen to our meeting or really wanted to, or anyone else who can't sit down and listen during the day because they're at work, if the audio recordings are on our website, then anybody can use them. It made me uncomfortable that some people could use them, but not everybody could use them. It doesn't seem transparent to do it that way, and I feel like they should be available to everyone. I think there's a lot of counties that either put their Zoom meetings on their website historically for all the public to hear or see, or their audio could be available the same way.
And what would be the objection to doing that? I mean, what would be the concerns of why we haven't done that, I guess is my question. I mean, I don't know, so why wouldn't our meeting minutes audio be available? Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm reading something here. It says, yes, sound recordings are considered public records in Wyoming and are accessible to the public under the Wyoming Public Records Act. The Act defines public records as any document, including sound recordings, created or received by a state agency in connection with public business. So I don't know if that applies entirely down to the county level, but it might, and there might be like a timeline to when they can be disposed.
Well, I did talk, I didn't go to Waco this year, but the year before, after a class, I did ask the auditors, should we be keeping those audios? And he said, definitely we should be keeping them. So I feel like it's just a small step, but.
And we're not keeping them now?
When I discussed it with, those that I needed to before, they're from my minutes. They have nothing to do with
Right,
the
we've
meeting.
never officially made them our official audio that we expect you to keep.
They're just for me to go back
They're
to. I don't
just,
even have
at
to
this
do
time,
it.
they're just your personal. But it bothered me that, even though they're your personal, you can do with them what you want, that some people could listen to them, but
I mean, I don't even have
realistically.
to do it.
No, I understand.
It's
I'm just saying.
Right, realistically, you
So-
can't let everybody come in and listen to your audio, that's kind of silly.
But my question is I understand if you're doing it by choice, but isn't that similar? And these are questions, they're not, I don't know the answer here, but maybe the attorney does. It's like our emails. We can write an email, but because we're in office, that's public information that can be checked at any time. So if we're not making that available, is that not, or at least accessible somehow at request, is that a problem?
I think the official record is the clerk's minutes.
Right.
And we approve that. I could see a point where we could say, okay, let's keep the audio recording for 30 days and then allow her to dispose of it. The official record is still the clerk's record. And maybe not 30 days, maybe it needs to be 6 months so that if a public records request is made, they then have 30 days to get access to it or whatever. I don't know why. I mean, I can see where Becky might be busy and can't do it today, but she might be able to help you out in a couple days to get you access to it.
Is that, and a question again, does that mean make it available to the public via the website, or does that mean by request, or what does
That
that
might cost a
exactly
lot of
mean?
money.
See, that's one of the reasons that it wasn't on the website, is because it's
large files to
data.
upload to it.
But I mean, maybe like you said, a time frame. But if we don't make it available and it's being, if she's using it for herself, could we at some point get in trouble? Again, I don't know the answer.
I mean, I don't have it.
I don't think so.
As long as I take it.
I don't see any
It doesn't
argument.
have to be recorded.
I don't see any argument other than the fact that Becky has to store a whole bunch of minutes. I mean, we couldn't ask her to please keep them for 6 months. So.
I think there's ways to store them now that don't take as much memory and would be much easier to do.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have on occasion brought in, or she actually has a supply of those memory sticks, and as long as they're new memory sticks, because you don't want to obviously put a virus or anything like that on her computer. But there hasn't been one time that I have not been able to get the recording from Becky when I've needed it for whatever reason. If I have, I've had to leave or whatever. And it's usually, for me, it's usually after executive sessions if I need the recording on that. But she's never had a problem getting that to me.
And
Not executive session.
I'm not saying that, Walter. What I'm saying is, I started thinking about, if she lets you listen to it, and she lets Lisa listen to it, or Nick listen to it, then really we should have everybody, I mean, then anybody should be able to come and listen to it. I don't think it feels right. It doesn't feel transparent and fair across the board. And I also feel like we need that historical. Yes, our minutes are official, but we all know they're very abbreviated. And we have long discussions sometimes where there's no way to go back and listen to what was said, if there's a disagreement or an argument, unless you go to Walter's YouTube website, and he has one YouTube. It's great. You can go back and watch it. But that belongs to the Newsletter Journal. That is not our official, that's not official for the county. And it would be really easy to keep, even, okay, we get 12 memory sticks, and we keep them for a year at a time.
So, making sure I understand, so, and I get, it's kind of like a text message, you can say, hey, what are you doing? And somebody's like, why'd you yell at me? Or, there's no, you're saying there's no emotion in a,
There's no emotion, and they're very abbreviated. I mean, a lot of times it just says discussion ensued kind of thing. Well, we might discuss something for a half hour and something may be said or not said that it would really be nice to go back and revisit that.
So, you think Commissioner Todd's idea of keeping it for 6 months is
2 years.
or
2
whatever?
year, 12 months, 2 years.
I think that's a
mean,
decision
if
the
we
board
get,
makes on, you know.
you could probably put 2 meetings on every stick and have 12 sticks and have it for 2 years and.
I'll say this, I mean, there's been situations in the past where we're looking at stinking resolutions that have been created, and there's nothing in the minutes really that really guides you in the feel of why this was created, or how it was created, and for what sometimes, and what caused it to be created. And my assumption is in the conversation within the meeting room, that conversation probably happened. So there could be argument you keep it for 10 years. You know, why did that previous board choose to do this? And we're faced with the same issue. It's much like that dog biting issue that Mr. Quinones brought in front of us.
That's a good point. Go ahead.
I mean, I can see both sides of this, where it's coming from, but I feel we as a board, we will need to make the decision if Becky's recording is going to become permanent record, and we need to state that this is going to be permanent record, and from this day forward it will be kept, or if it's going to be kept for 12 months for convenience purposes, for somebody to come look at, or whatever we decide. But that's something we as a board are going to have to make that official decision, whether those recordings are how they're long for kept. And then I would also, in that, reach out to the county attorney's office, and if we do this, will it create problems in the past where it hasn't been kept? Or are we going to set ourselves up for possible litigation? Well, we didn't keep them up to this date, now we're going to move forward, which that's a legal issue on that, but will that stand up down the road that is an official record of the county, where we have the minutes too?
But once it is a recording, are we going against the rule by not making it available? That's
yes.
Huh?
There is no exemption in the public.
So once that recording's
Public
made,
record.
it's public knowledge. It's public information, right?
Yeah, somebody could come in and put in a public request for record, and it specifically includes any audio visual recordings.
Well, I've discussed with the county clerks, and they said this is for my benefit of my minutes. And it's not a recording of an audio of the commissioners. It's for my benefit of my minutes. It's not like.
Are you a public official? Yeah. Do you have the information? So public records includes any information in any physical form in possession of a public official.
I've asked them, and they said they don't keep their recording.
I mean,
of their
I
minutes.
would think it'd be the same thing as if I sent a text to Ed that maybe it was not necessarily what I'd want the public to see. I still sent that text to Ed,
Right,
and it is
right.
public.
Right.
Whether I want, it might have been a personal opinion of mine,
Right.
but I still sent it to Ed.
So when you make your motion, make sure if someone ever comes in for it, they have to have an unopened, I mean, that's gotta be something, because it will put a virus on it.
Right.
And that's what the Newsletter Journal does when they bring theirs over.
So
it doesn't put a virus on mine.
my question now is the rest of the clerks in the state, are they in violation of law by destroying their records? what Anthony just read there?
The majority of them keep the visual or audio.
They don't.
I would think that because Becky's recording that for her own personal use, whatever, maybe the board needs to keep our own recordings for the
Well,
future.
this is being recorded.
But it is erased after a certain period of time. I've seen and then maybe that can be changed by Charles. Maybe he can keep it for that 2 years that you're talking about, and that would solve the problem. I don't know, but,
Well, that doesn't solve the problem because like last week we had half a meeting.
well, you're right.
So that
The
doesn't
internet-
solve the problem unless we can guarantee that's gonna work the way it should. That does not solve the problem.
That's, or if we're nothing.
Then we're nothing.
I think it's, honestly, I think it's an easy fix. I like what Commissioner Todd said, is just make a motion that it's kept for a certain period of time and it's made available, and at that certain period of time, I don't know if you dispose of it or you store it, I don't know, but I think that's a good idea.
I think you could dispose of it because you could say, the argument could be made, if you want it in the minutes, you add it or adjust the written minutes as we want them written. That's our permanent record, and 2 years later, I mean, we start dumping things. I mean, otherwise we have, I don't know. You could keep it for
What's
20
your
years.
opinion on
but-
time frame? I mean, is that forever or?
Yeah, I don't know that the public records thing specifies how long you have to keep it, but if you are keeping it, that's when it,
Another good example would have been that airport board discussion they had with those other commissioners. We'd have been able to know what their intent was, which we didn't because we couldn't get information on it. But, I mean, at some point, 20 years down the road, they might be saying, well, what did the commissioners of this board mean by when they kept the information? So, I mean, I can see both sides of it too. We can put this back on the agenda for the next meeting, because we do need to move on to our executive session with people waiting, and give us a chance to think about it and move it more forward.
Well, maybe,
I would ask the attorney's office to make sure that we do some research on it so that we have all the information that we need to make a
let's do some
reasonable decision.
research and see what maybe we can come up
Unless
with.
we-
yeah, I was just opining directly on if you are keeping it, you can't say this is my private information. You can't
Well,
look at it.
I wasn't saying it was my private, I've never said it was for my personal
Well,
use.
and I'm not picking on you, it's never been made official, that's your private, those
Not
are your
private,
private.
not
You
personal.
did it for work, you did it to do your minutes, I understand that. But I'm saying perhaps we should make them official, so when the newspapers use it, it's not your private.
Let's move this on to the next meeting
But
and
they're
we'll do
not
some
private, they're not
research.
personal, they're for my minutes.
Right. But
I
my,
never
but
said they
my
were personal.
concern was.
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment that in the last 14 years I've worked for the Gazette, nobody from our office has needed to use Becky's recording. I attend every meeting. I've missed like 2 since I started working here. And I write my articles based on the notes I take during the meeting, so I have no reason to use Becky's recording.
Thank you, Nick, I appreciate your comments.
You bet.
So we'll move to the next meeting and we'll do some research on it so that we're a little bit better prepared
We're
to
not the
discuss it.
meeting attendance, we're gonna discuss that.
I don't know what that is.
You asked to have it put on there. About the official.
Having
Being
people
here.
present.
Yes, you did.
Well, if that was part of my questions when I asked you about it the other day, my concern was if we let some people listen to it when they need to, I'm not sure that that was proper and that maybe the newspaper should have to come. And the official paper should have to be here. That's my opinion. And he's usually here. But when we discussed the recording, it came up that it has to be used sometimes. So I think there's an overreaction here about my questions about the recording and our discussion that we had.
Go ahead.
Historically, the minutes of the clerk were much deeper. They had comments, they had opinions that formed that. We have the record of them. And then it was about 10 years ago. I don't know if it's a transparency thing, but the minutes got reduced. So at that point, and I mean, that's when technology changes also. And I understand, and there is nothing wrong, as far as I can see it, making those public or available to the public or on the website if it's not too expensive or whatever. But you can also do that in there. And I'm not looking for monetary gain because I have no guarantee I will have it or the newsletter will have it. But you can also add more to that. And I was told at one point, well, that's what the newspaper's for. That is not. The minutes that are in the newspaper should be complete enough that people can deduce what happened from being able to read those. So that's another thing you might want to consider, but there certainly is nothing wrong in this day and age of putting that on the website or making that more available. And talk about saving them for so long or whatever. I mean, you can get large things to save them on. It's not like you have to have 50 little things. I mean, you can figure out a way to do that economically also, so.
External hard drives are really not that expensive anymore.
I agree with the comment on the reduction of things. I mean, you should be able to pick up your minutes and pretty much know what happened in those meetings without having to go, I wonder what they meant, or I wonder what they said, or I wonder what the point was. But again, that's a board decision, and I think if we get time to look at it, research it, we can come back and maybe do a decision at that point. But
And in Becky's fairness, I've read minutes from other boards across the counties, and it seems to be pretty much across the board that at one point they suddenly started getting shorter. And you're probably right.
You can
It's
do that in our own books,
partly
by looking at
technology.
minutes. No, and I get it. I'm just saying you can do that with our own.
I'm sure, yes.
So. Okay, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it very much. Moving on, we need to do an executive session if I could get a motion. Thank you guys for coming. We'll do public comment after the executive session if you have any public comment.
I'm going to be going to executive session, 16-4-405 AII.
I have a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second, with one caveat, can we meet with the attorney for about 2 minutes privately before we bring everybody in?
We want the attorney first.
Yes, it's all related to the same thing.
Okay.
Just
So I have a motion properly seconded. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay, we're gonna wait.
Bear in mind,
But I think it was malice on Becky's part leading up to the mistake, malice on Becky's part during the mistake, and certainly malice on Becky's part after the mistake that has the public so upset about this.
Oh, 100%. I can't fathom why you would ignore the Secretary of State's phone call on election night unless you knew something was up and you didn't want to admit something was up and therefore you were trying to cover up what was up. Why else would you ignore his call? If you honestly thought there was no issue with your election and everything was fine, why would you ignore the Secretary of State?
Except for maliciousness.
Yes, the following day after she talked to the Secretary of State twice, she somehow produced a perfect post-election audit despite later finding out that the election was off significantly.
So we got the whole place repainted.
Did anybody give you cake out there?
No. We tried coffee and hash browns to buy this.
What March?
Just had a serving of peas, yeah.
Okay. Moving on, we're going on to public comment. Is there any public comment?
I just want to say that
Sarah had mentioned that the official paper should be present at the meetings, and there is nothing in statute that says that we have to attend any meeting ever. And the news person will interview or call to get the information that they need. I mean, we're not in the middle of a fire, but we can call and talk to those people that work. That is not a requirement to be the official paper.
And if you remember, I said that was my opinion. That was my
Okay.
opinion.
I just wanted to clarify the official papers stand on that.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other public comment? Go ahead.
Please, thank you for recommending me. I'm here in place of my husband. He should be here, but he had other things that were pertinent at the time. He was just curious if the surveyor had been contacted for this, because he was confused how it was, where it was at, so.
Yes. I did with Jimmy, I took the map to Jimmy, and as of last week, he was reaching out to the surveyors, to get the ball rolling, so it can be done.
Okay, thank you.
Did this meet what you guys were wanting to convey to us?
I haven't been able to, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, go ahead.
He hasn't seen this yet, so he'll be tickled to see this, but yes, I think this is in the general idea.
That was kind of the, why I drew the map up to give Jimmy and Michael and everybody, that way we can convey what was discussed, because it got pretty convoluted there for a while.
It's very convoluted anyway, so thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Is there any other public comment? Moving on to commissioners' comment.
I just wanted to, once again, congratulate Erin on the awards she received through 4-H. She does a really good job, and we should be really proud of her as a community.
I need to say to the meeting.
Visited went to the open house out at the new landfill last weekend. And Louis gave us a tour around in the bus, got to see the transfer station and how that operation is going to work. And it's real interesting the way that pit is set up. and Ed probably knows a lot more than I do about this, but as far as long term, I think it's somewhere in the 200-year expectation, depending on maybe outside trash that might get accepted or whatever. But talking to Bob and Mike Mills, they were informative on and excited that yesterday was our first day of being open. So good job for everybody that was involved with that. Looks great.
I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge, because I didn't get to our Senator Ogden, that I need to say just for me that there's grievances that I have with individuals, and those grievances are between me and those individuals. And I don't want to take away from the fact that just because we have grievances as a board and board members and past board members and future board members, doesn't mean that we're not here to serve the best interest of Weston County. And I acknowledge that Ogden has done a lot of good things, just as every person on this board and every person coming on the board or previously has done good things with the board. I hope that that's the only goal. It's definitely not it shouldn't be a combat situation, and comments get made, by myself included, and I need to recognize the difference between anger and good decision making. Ogden Driscoll's done a lot of good things for Weston County, and that needs to be acknowledged, just as I felt like he needed to understand that it wasn't just one person that went to the redistricting, there was several of us. So I appreciate his efforts and all the commissioners' efforts, even if we don't always agree. I think that you guys have the best intentions for your cause and your purposes, and you should be able to speak that without we're going to call it a hatred towards one another. It's what the board's about, and 5 opinions is very valuable and everything should be considered in that process. So thank you to the board members, the new board members that I've been here previously, and Ogden Driscoll for the many good things that you have done. Any other comments? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much.